for the CTE here. Some of you might have met me via one-on-one consultations or virtual. And you know, for those of you who haven't met, thank you for stopping by. It's nice to meet you. So this training is called Taming the Gradebook Beast. So I've only been here since May, and one thing that I've realized that it has been a growing trend is instructors are very, they see the gradebook as sort of a concern, you know, and I get it. It's a kind of a chaotic abyss of, you know, a lot of potential, a lot of possibilities, but it's sometimes the very options that are left, that are displayed on one screen, tend to make it kind of difficult to navigate things. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you've come to the right place. We're going to explore, you know, how to transform, you know, that chaotic abyss from, you know, from something that's kind of daunting and intimidating in, you know, something that can actually be of great help to you. Whether it's streamlining with grading efficiency or even customizing your gradebook, tailoring it to your course. You know, so from everything from monitoring student progress to automating certain functions. You know, we'll discuss that in this session. So before we go, how many of you use the gradebook regularly? Okay. So objectives. So we're going to make it more efficient. As an instructor, you can significantly enhance efficiency and improve grading accuracy, thus fostering a more effective and engaging learning environment. Creating weighted categories, if that fits your course structure better. This approach, it does allow you as an instructor to emphasize certain type of assessments, to prioritize the importance of certain assessments by giving them more of a weight when calculating the total. You can also have it to more accurately reflect student performance in time with course objectives. For example, if you decide that exams are the most critical component of the course, you can say, you know what, we're going to have 4 exams and it's half your grade. You can weigh all the exams as 50% of the student's grade as a category. And that's why I had Laura get the laptops out, because we're going to tinker with some of the functions as we go. So, tailoring the gradebook. You can actually customize the system to match your class's setup and learning goals. So this way you can manage the different assessments, anything from homework to quizzes, attendance, even, you know, and collaboration, group projects. And each one counts with the right amount. It's going to be weighed and prioritized accordingly. Generating reports. This is a great tool for tracking your students' progress. You can easily identify if somebody is struggling, if somebody is even on the opposite of struggling, if they are actually acing everything. So that also offers insight as to, hey, maybe the student needs to be challenged a little more. And when you have this data, you can actually it puts you in a position to be able to offer feedback and additional support for your students. Also, leveraging workarounds in regards to Blackboard Ultra's current issues. So, a lot of the questions I've received from faculty are due to when I troubleshoot and I research them, like, why does it do this when I try to do this? I've encountered it as part of a greater scope of known issues, and every LMS has this. The key is it's not the issue can be there, and in due time it's going to get fixed. However, workarounds are what actually helps us kind of overcome those obstacles. So towards the end, we're going to talk about some known issues and the workarounds. All right. So how many of you have recently started using Ultra? You went from using Learn, and this is, how many of you, it's like this is your first semester kind of using Ultra? Yeah? Okay, good. So, well, this slide's for you. Okay. So, new in Ultra Gradebook, going from Learn, the original Learn, to Ultra. Ultra's embedded analytics are basically the same version as the performance dashboard or retention center. So you can find them when you go into the analytics tab. You see three subtabs: course activity, question analysis, score reports, and through that you can pull the data. Automatic zero is an option for customizing your gradebooks. One of the way to customize your gradebook settings. Automatic zero, what it is, if a student's work is not submitted, if there's no submission by the due date, it grades it automatically as a 0. So that is one way to, instead of you having to look at there's no submission and you got to like manually put it in there before you push the grades. Also, push notifications on mobile. Learn did not have that. Ultra has an app for students and instructors, and they can each customize to get push notifications on mobile. So they actually pop up as regular notifications like you get from any other app. And the student app is actually very comprehensive and very, because Ultra was designed, is very mobile friendly. So it was designed to optimize mobile learning. Yeah.
Automatic zero. So I have a policy where in some of my classes where if they can turn stuff in late, they would get 10%, 20% off, whatever, as time goes. So if I turn on automatic zero, does that prevent them from then submitting a response or a work?
So yeah, so depending on, and it grades it as an automatic 0, and then if you have the option to like push the grade, you've graded it, and then it's just like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and post the grades. You can still override the automatic 0. However, you can also customize it to where you take off certain points.
You can customize that?
Yeah, we're gonna go into the gradebook settings for the exceptions, but you can still override this. So it's not like you can make it to where deadline comes in, they got the 0, that's it. But you can make it so there is the grades are there, and then you can go over the grades, and then.
But they'll still be able to submit something after that's automatically 0.
Yes, because you just have to click the box that says that you just have to not check the box that says prohibit submissions after due date. Yeah. Yep. So as long as that one's not checked, they can still submit.
Okay. Right.
And when they do that, it's just going to say submitted late. For.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I might have missed it. What are we clicking on to get to automatic 0?
So once we go into the, you're going to do the gradebook settings, the little gear icon. So you're a little ahead in the session.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, but.
I thought maybe you covered that, and I thought,
Oh,
man, I must
oh no, it's just an
okay.
overview, and then I'm going to
Yeah,
go more into
yeah.
detail. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so given, its comprehensive structure and everything, there are four different interfaces, four different views for the gradebook. Your overview, gradable items, actual grades, and students. I always like to say, this is your roster, this is the grades, like the one that most closely resembles that, like the spreadsheet layout. And this is, this is the grade, the items. So here, your overview is just in general. Gradable items, that is your like needs grading. That's where like you're going to see all your stuff. The grades are your that spreadsheet like interface, and then you have the students. So the grade, so this has the students. This has the material that needs to be graded. And this view, the grades view, actually combines the two. So it has the students and the material. All right, so let's start with the overview. So the overview is visible if you are in for anybody, if you are an assigned grader. So if you have a TA in your course, they'll be able to view the like this interface. So it will be hidden if there are no items for reconciliation. So one thing it has needs reconciling. So what that is, kind of to piggyback what I went on for, there's the actual grades that are graded and then posting the grades. So let's say you have a TA that's been grading stuff. And if you want, whenever you log in as an instructor, and if they graded it, it's going to show you that interface that you need to reconcile the grades. And basically what it says is just to check them over before they get, before you push them to the gradebook officially for the students to view. So you have that option. And all you gotta do, or all you'll have to do is just say reconcile, click on the reconcile now, and then the grades are going to be posted. So any questions for reconciling grades? It has the same function as when you're in the gradebook, and let's say in the discussion, you're grading the discussions, and it's like, you've graded them, and then let's say you don't want to post them now, you're still waiting on somebody else, and then when you give yourself that option, okay, grade them, post now. That's what that is. And if you have access to the gradebook, you can view that. Your needs grading. So this is where you will see all the submissions that have yet to be, that are ready for you to grade. Preparing and organizing submissions with, you can even sort them with the oldest, from the oldest submission to the newest, and it does enable you to prioritize your tasks effectively. So if, let's say, you had them turn in 3 different assignments, which one do you want to prioritize? If you say like, hey, it's critical that they receive this grade first, or let's say they have a draft, I really need to grade their drafts first so that way they can get the feedback and work on the final draft kind of thing. So you can prioritize that kind of stuff. You just, if you don't want, if you just want to click as you go, you just do grade now to access the submission, and then you can start grading. So it functions the same as what Learn's like inline grading was. Yeah.
When you do grade now,
Mhm.
is there any sequence that it goes to, like the first student that it'll grade? Because when I have done that before, sometimes I'm in the middle of my roster
Mhm.
and I realize, oh, I didn't grade all of these that were above.
Mm. Yeah, so it's going to go wherever you clicked first, it's going to go down there, but it does loop back around. So I've noticed that, and by default, it usually goes by the last submission, but you can make it so it's alphabetical or that way. But it typically, and it depends on if you access it via gradable items, it's going to go by the date of submission. Any more questions on the needs grading? All right, so the needs posting. Similar function to the needs reconciling. It has your graded, it has everything that you have already graded. However, the extra step that requires is for you to post it to the gradebook for your students to see. So that is what that is. And usually the needs, if you want to delay posting, you want to grade as you go, but you want to delay posting. Usually what a lot of instructors I see, they save that for if, let's say, if a student needs more time, and if they're waiting for them to finish, or if they're taking it on a different day, or if, usually it's when they're waiting on a submission and they don't want to compromise the academic integrity, and so they're going to post the grades, especially if when you post the grades, you also post the answers and the feedback. So that's why there's a delay in posting the grades. Okay, so the gradable items. So this is your gradable items. So you can post grades, you can modify the overall grade calculations, so these are the ones when you log in and you're like, okay, what do I need to do in the gradebook? The ones in red are the ones that are missing or past the due date. So so if you see here, it goes by kind of follows how you did the gradebook. So it follows the columns of the gradebook, usually by the due date, or by, if you made it from scratch, the order in which you created the content. So so it looks like this, and you just click on here, and it'll take you to the submission for you to grade. And then you don't have to go back to the needs grading, because once you go in, it has that little arrow to where on the right, where you can just go on to the next submission. It has the next student's name to be graded on that right-hand corner. All right, so the grades. For the view one, it's to view the submission and start to grade. You would click on the submission itself. So you're gonna actually click on here, and once you're in there, you can provide feedback. You can, if it's let's say like a paper that they've submitted, provide feedback on that. If it's a test, you can provide feedback on why they got an essay question or any kind of question wrong. And can either also post the grades. So also, they are color coded. So the purple ones, the new submissions, will be in purple. The missed, the automatic zeros, and even the missing ones, depending on how you set up your how you want to accept submissions past the due date, and the posted grades. And if you don't have a due date, it's not going to have it's not going to be in red. So that's why you could have a due date. Hi. Yes.
So and what are the other colors for? It seems like I've seen, well, there's yellow right there, and I think I've seen one other one.
Oh yeah, so the yellow is usually what it is that the green is if they got like the higher percentage. So this is kind of the average. So if they got, so I usually see the yellow as ranges anywhere from like 85 to 75,
Yeah.
and then this one is usually in your 90s, and then this one is usually below like 60%. So it kind of tells you, it does that to kind of gauge that that trend of like, so if you see a bunch of reds, like 3 assignments in a row for one student, you'd be like, okay, they're kind of struggling because they're not hitting the mark here. They're kind of failing their assignments. Yeah.
And then my classes are always based on points.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing confuses students quicker than seeing a percentage anywhere. Is there any way I can do a percentage estimate on Blackboard and get percentages out of there?
A percentage for
It keeps doing things like that. That's a number over another number.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a fraction, but in my class, the denominator has no meaning whatsoever. It's only the numerator. They're collecting points.
Yeah.
And so, 100 over 20,000 is the same as 100 over 101.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same grade.
Yeah.
They keep showing it as a fraction, and they keep translating it into a perception. Some places in Blackboard, I think it displays it as a percentage.
Yeah. Well, and you can adjust that in the settings. You can adjust to display it in points, in
But
percentage.
No effect. I do that every time. I put it into points.
Mm-hmm.
In some places it shows the points, and then percentages and letter grades show up all over the place, confusing the heck out of them.
Yeah. So even if you adjust the set, yeah.
Yeah. No, that only applies apparently in a small number of places. If you say points, it'll do points in some places.
Yeah, because it usually does. But one thing I've noticed though, with courses that have been copied over, and if the assessments along with the grade book settings have been copied over, it does that. It has that glitch. And I do, which I do have a note for that in the known issues slide. So.
Yeah, because if I could solve that one, that would be huge.
Yeah, because it does sometimes. Yeah, the gradebook can has some glitches. Unfortunately, with it is amplified if we've noticed if you directly copy the course, and then along with the assessments.
Yeah, these I've not created them from scratch, but it's just something is going on. I'm wondering if there's a feature I don't know about, or if I'm doing something wrong.
No, it's just and they are working on it, so it's and I do have a couple workarounds on the gradebook stuff. So all right, so the students one, that is basically your course roster, and it provides a good breakdown of how your students are doing. It lists the names of your entire course roster, along with their date of last access and their overall grade. Thing with overall grade, how many of you have set up overall grade in your course? All right. Okay, so you're from. Okay.
So I can have categories.
Mm-hmm.
That's like critical.
Yeah. So you can view your overall grade if you have set it up. It's usually like the first column in the gradebook by default. You can also from this interface though, you can message the student. You just click on their name. You can message them. You can also add accommodations. So if the student needs more time on something, you can add that. Grading and the ones who do, so let's say you deployed a test and you're like, oh, I don't know, did I provide this accommodation for this particular student? And if you did, if you go on this, in this view, it's gonna show like a little purple icon next to their name, next to their name. So it's gonna have like a little purple flag.
That's, and I don't mean to be mean to an injured horse, but that's another case where, see, it's got a denominator. It's a fraction.
Yeah, it's
expressed as a fraction, and the
Right.
denominator is points possible.
Yeah,
But that's not how my course is, because I've got
it's just a
400 points
screenshot.
max, but there's like 60 points of extra credit they could have.
Mm-hmm.
And Blackboard thinks the extra credit is part of the possible.
Oh, no, so there is depending on how you do your extra credit, there is a way to, you do signify. So let's say if you're doing like a quiz or an assessment, the way to do it is you go into the tests, because Ultra has an extra credit designation for questions. So if you add an S, so let's say you want them to do like a short, like a writing, like a one-page analysis of something. You would go do an essay question and then put it as extra credit. So that is usually the quickest workaround for that.
But it's not an extra credit category under overall grade. This is an
You
option.
can add the category.
Yeah, but that's not what does this function. You're saying this function is done by a box I click and.
Yeah, we
the
can.
assignment?
Yeah, and I can go and
I'll go looking for it first. Maybe I can find it here.
yeah. So here, this is what we can do.
So it should be under the regular head. Grading, attempts allowed, originality. Access code, movement. I mean, we can talk about this afterwards if you'd rather.
Oh, well, I was gonna do the demo for
Yeah.
For the Gradebook views anyway. So
Okay. Yeah, I can't find it anywhere in the edit where I edit the assignment. Oh, maybe assignment settings.
What I also do is just put a 1 in there for extra credit, because
Mm-hmm.
that way,
how?
it's got,
Oh.
like when you put the assignment in, I just, it's written as extra credit, so students can see it's extra credit. But what I do is just put in the max that you can get for that assignment is 1, so if they do the assignment, then,
Yeah, you can do
because
that
everybody's
as well.
gonna get 1 point, so, so just add it to it if they complete it.
Let's see.
So you mean then the number doesn't throw your numbers off because
Right.
it's only a 1?
Yeah.
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 If I could put
Because they're gonna
zero-
do participation anyway, so it's like, well, everybody participates at least once or twice during the term, so that, yeah. Because I didn't know about that.
I don't know if it'll let me put 0 in
Yeah, it won't show up
No.
if you put 0. I tried that, and it just totally wouldn't show, and I'm like, what? And it's like, oh, so that's why I made it a 1. It's,
there. Yeah, I don't see it under the year either. Maybe if I label it as complete, incomplete, instead of letter points or percentage, one of the options is complete, incomplete. Maybe it won't add a number to the possible points.
Sounds good to me, but you would have to know that. I don't know anything about that, so.
I mean, complete and incomplete, you're basically, it's not quantifiable, it's only that you essentially are judging the thing based on whether they turned it in or not.
So I'd have to go to grades and then override it
Mm-hmm.
for each person. Yeah,
I mean,
that's not good.
well, yeah, but if you're overriding it, because it's just gonna say complete or incomplete for the submission, it's not gonna quantify it.
But it's not gonna let me put points in there.
No, it's not gonna let you put in numbers. That's why it gives you like 4 different displays, so you can choose which one you want to provide in there. All right, how many of you are in your course, or like your sandbox course? All right, so here, I'm just gonna go around, because I know you have questions, so, all right. What do you know?
Let's say so like extra credit.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody-
Yep.
And then in here, there's nothing that basically says donate points, points donated to another organization. You consider them to be possible. So let's do grade music.
Is this, so this is just a written assignment?
I don't know if this is going to hold on to it.
Oh.
Maybe we should be sending it to this.
Well, the easiest way to do it is to go into so if you go into the tests and do an essay question, and then do it as an extra credit.
Oh, yeah. It's not how it's, points, right? It's still going to be.
Yeah, you could still use points, yeah.
But I mean, if it, as soon as it has the 5 maximum points,
Mm-hmm.
over here, it's true. It's over here.
Okay.
This one where you do students,
Yeah.
those 5 points are going to show up in the email.
See me after the session, please. Thank you. All right.
That'd be great.
How's everybody? So I want you to go in and try to look at the different views and try to set up your kind of like explore the displays of points, your percentages, and how it looks like. So we're going to go into grading schemas. So one pointer though, in order for you to view to view a lot of the performance statistics or a lot of that data, you need to set up overall grade because that is the main source of which that data gets pulled. The overall grade is the main source for all of your insights regarding student performance. So you have to make sure the overall grade is there. All right. So we want to talk about schemas. So both default and custom, they are available in the grade using menu using for graded items in your course. So if you go into the gradebook, if you go into your gradebook, and then in the gradebook, use that gear icon, and then it's going to pull up your gradebook settings. So let me know if you're having trouble.
The one where it says overall grade lower equal, is that what we're?
Yep.
Yep, no.
Yep. Yeah, you're there.
Okay. But I wouldn't use that if I was doing points, right? Or yes, I still would.
For what?
It over here it says it has a percentage here. So
Oh, so that one is they're empty now. However, if you do fill them out,
yeah.
so you can manage the schemas for percentages. For example, managing grade schemas. There are some institutions who have whose programs, their schemas are different. For example, whereas the general one is 100 to 90 is an A, 89 to 80 is a B. You have, however, maybe one department, they like to be fancy and difficult, so they're going to do it 100 to 93 is an A, 92 is a B plus already. 83 is the B minus, 82, 81, that's a C. So if your grading scale is different, you can actually, this is where you would go to set up that new grade schema. You can have up to 100 grade schemas set up per course. So go wild with your grade schemas, if you want. So under grade schemas is, and this is tied to, this kind of ties into what we just talked about regarding having insights on student performance. You've got your settings here. Now they're empty, but when you're if you enter any data, so overall grade below or equal, you can set up your alerts. So if the overall grade, let's say in your course for anybody, jumps below 80 or jumps below 75, it's gonna notify you. Or if they have missed due dates, if they have missed more than 2 due dates, you can set it up and you just enter a number. So if you enter 2, after 2 missing assignments, you're going to be notified, and then you can message the student, or you can intervene in any way. Days since last access. This is good, especially if your students are saying, oh, but I submitted it, I don't know what happened. So if they haven't been online, you don't have to dig through their digital footprints, in the activity dashboard. It'll notify you if it has been several days. So you can put that, if you put a 1 in there, if they haven't logged in 24 hours, you're going to be notified. But you don't have to tell them that. But you will be notified if they have, let's say, not logged in. I mean, you don't want to, but also you will be inundated with notifications. But if they're trying to be slick and say, oh well, I was online, I submitted the assignment, and you're like, well, no, you didn't. I don't see a submission. Well, I uploaded it. I don't know what happened. But if it shows they haven't logged in 15 days, there's no way they could have done that last time. So that is a good way to kind of monitor the general digital footprints of students, and also kind of customize what interventions you want to have. Any questions? Yeah.
Can you hit the grade schema link? Wherever it says at the top, manage grade schemas.
It's a screenshot.
Oh. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're in there. You're in
Yeah,
there.
when I hit the manage grade schemas, it's only letters and percentages,
Yeah, so,
so I lost
So
my
for-
points again.
go in here. And then manage grid schemas.
So even though I said I want everything in points, it still comes up with only letters and percentages.
Well, so that is the default, grade schema.
So can I change it to points? I just did that to try and see what else would be available to me right now.
Yeah, this is where you would add additional ones.
But it still forces me to do letters and percentages.
So the letters are gonna be there by default anyway, because the students wanna see at the end, they want to see their letter grade. So that's why it's gonna be there.
They see it in the middle, and then there's confusion. Go ahead and after the course.
For the letter grade?
Yeah. Well, or did that, or they do the percentage calculation themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and because the system says out of a certain number, they've got 40 points out of a certain number.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a really low percentage because that out of number includes the extra.
Well, yeah, well, the running total is only based on assignments that have been completed. It only takes into account the assignments that have been graded. So if, let's say,
Yeah.
let's say your course is 200 points, and halfway through the semester, the student sees like, well, I have 90 points, I'm failing, but it's out of 100. But let's say you've only utilized like maybe 110 of those total points, since we're only halfway through the semester.
Yeah.
So that's where it's out of 110. So you always have to remind them that is the running total. It's always takes into account.
That's where the confusion is. Because
Yeah.
Blackboard is going to say, in your example, it's going to say if you have 80 points out of 260, because it includes the 60 that comes from extra credit.
Mm-hmm.
It thinks that's part of the course, but it's not part of the course.
No, because like when you do click on it, it does show you it does go into like where that number comes from. So if
Right, so
if
they
the
get
stuff
the
is
breakdown.
already if the stuff is already so it shows you the stuff that has actually basically the input of that data. So the stuff that has not been graded is not being taken into account for.
Right. That part makes sense.
Mhm.
The other part is messing around. In fact, it's including the extra credit.
So, last part for this, for the gradebook settings and the grade schema. So, for the student performance here, settings that you have, this check mark, based on these settings, you can send notifications to the student as well. So, if this is checked green, your settings based on what you enter here, not only in addition to you being notified, the student will also be notified. So kind of funny if you put like a 1 there, so every time they don't log in, they just get it's like it's like the Duolingo thing where it's like if you don't log in for 12 hours, it's like, oh, you made him sad. Kind of thing.
Is there a way of a notification
Uh-huh.
if they don't log in for a week? Not 7 days, but any week period.
So that's a good question. Now, days since this goes by calendar days. However, if you have your course, let's say where you have certain, like let's say you have a quiz in a lab due each week, you have a quiz in a lab. If they have missed due dates for those, you can do that. But this one, it goes by calendar days.
Okay.
So yeah. And you can also customize that just based on just like the reasonable amount. So if your course meets once a week, there's no reason why they should be logging in every single day, so. All right, So, kind of different calculations. You got the total calculations. So this is, we talked a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit about like the points based and the weight columns. So, this is basically for like your total calculation for, you can break it up into different categories. So you can have, like you want your students to have a lab grade. It's a very common thing for lab-based courses to have their own separate lab grade. So you can actually, using like a lab category, and you can create like a total column based on those labs. The calculation column, you can use custom formulas. You can use. This is basically your like any kind of manual column that you create. So if how many of you are in the Gradebook now? So if you go between, if you notice, if you hover slowly between the columns, you'll see the purple plus sign. So that's that. And this takes into account the several columns. And the overall grade is the one that takes all of that. However, the overall grade column can be customized to prioritize different assessments accordingly. So it provides them with it provides you with options regarding how you want to calculate your course. So, so you have two options for your total column. You have the weight. The weight calculation basically determines categories and individual items as a percentage of a final grade. So this is your participation is 10% of your grade kind of column. This is the final is 20% of your grade. Quizzes are 15%. Like this is where you would go into to have that breakdown finalized for to tailor it to your course. So the weight column gives you flexibility to assign percentage values on certain assessments and categories. So you can decide how important, how high the stakes you want. You want for certain assignments. So and you can even do it within the same category. So it doesn't have to be category based, but you can even weigh things differently. You can decide whether to weigh items within the same category or proportionally or equally. So proportionally is so equally it's like, okay, you want them all to have, let's say you have discussions, assignments, quizzes, and exams. And you're like, okay, I want them all to just have 25%, to be weighed 25% of the final grade. Or you can do proportionally, to where it has to add up to 100, but you can assign different values based on the type of assessment. So your points typically it is kind of simpler. It is definitely the more transparent option. It's very straightforward. So you don't have to worry. So points where it's more transparent, it's simpler. It's, if you've got 8 out of 10 on something, if your student's got 8 out of 10, it's as is 8 out of 10. So they know they earned 8 points out of the 10 points as part of the total grade for an assignment that is part of a grade or total. They earned 8 points out of that. They don't have to worry about, oh, well, I earned 8 out of 10, but what's the, how much percent of my grade is this particular assignment, weighed? So, that eliminates that kind of dilemma. So, The points are if you want to have fewer questions by your students based on their grades, you will go with a points route. However, if you want to, the weight part is a little better if you are looking to adhere to the objectives more strictly. So if you want to, based on what your learning goals are, and if some assignments are more tied to the learning goals than others, you want to use the weight one. 9 times out of 10, though, I do see points. Points are usually the more common ones used. So, any question on the weight and points? And then we're gonna. Once we get to attendance, though, it's going to. So, all right. So let's. If you're in your grade center, we're gonna mess around with some weight categories first. So in Ultra, the weight category, it's like I said, it's good for organizing and calculating grades based on how you want to prioritize. So instead of simply adding everything up, you can assign specific percentages of different categories. So these are better for reflecting your course objectives, and you might even, so if you want to, let's say, assign a higher percentage to exams that require students to, more critical thinking skills. So if you go, okay, well, this exam, this midterm really kind of prioritizes the critical thinking skills that are really important to their learning goals, you can assign more weight to that. And if you want to still keep the points thing and do that, you would just assign more quantified, points by quantity. So the course, like I said, if you do really want to adhere to your course objectives, the weight one is better for that. So also motivates the students a little better because it's more encouraging, especially if the stakes are higher. It might motivate them more instead of them just being like, okay, well, it's just 10 points is 10 points kind of thing. But if it weighs more, it might encourage them to kind of invest more of their time into it. So in your grade center, I want to kind of, I'm a hands-on learner, so that's why I've kind of got the laptops out, and I kind of want to see everybody go in and go into the the weight column settings. So if you want,
it's like the same place, and we go in the same place, or is that different place?
So if you want to go in, you can go into overall grade. Like if you haven't set up your overall grade yet, you can go into your overall grade, and from there, you're going to see calculation based on either points or weights. And if you've already set it up, you can just click on it on your in your gradebook, and that way you'll be able to see how you can structure your different ones. And one thing though, the attendance by default, and we're going to get into the attendance portion of Ultra. I get a lot of questions about this. So when you activate the attendance feature, where it's just a grid and you can just check on it, and then you can even customize whether you want to give them half the points or all of them for if they're late versus if they never showed up or if it's an excused absence. When you go into to factor it into the overall grade, it is going to be on 100%, like 100% because it takes into account the the students' the attendance, so it's going to calculate So if you showed up, if you have like, let's say 30 out of 30 dates in class, and if they showed up, let's say only 10 times, their attendance grade is going to be 30%. And the thing is, and that does, because when they go into overall grade and they're like, well, I want to do the attendance, but it keeps showing me the 100%, but that's just, it's like its own standalone thing. Now, you can do like a hidden participation column, and then basically take that as almost like a stand-in for the attendance if you don't want to, but you can still use the attendance. But instead, you can use that column to kind of customize it. So, which is one of the workarounds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I was that.
Mhm. So, any questions on the weight and the total, the points based? Any questions on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you set up a grade, let's say by points, and you're selecting then the different items that
Mhm.
go into the points, right?
What do you mean?
Or, so if you have, you're setting up those points, right? And then
Mhm.
I got to a screen where you would have the items listed below it,
Mhm.
right? So if you don't have something there and you add something later, do you have to come back in here and add it, or would it automatically be added?
It would automatically be added, especially if you assign it a category.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then, but the thing is, even if you weigh them, you could still have like point, like, oh, this is like 10 points or something, or like, or especially if you have like a gradable quiz or a discussion.
Yeah.
And then what it does, so when you weigh them proportionally, that's why it gives you that option, weighing equally or proportionally. It's if you want them to, because you can still make it to factor in the category itself as part of the weight columns.
So then if you add an item to that category, it would automatically.
Yeah, it should be automatic. Yeah, especially if you, but it's if you create it and then if you assign it a category. Now, if you don't assign it, but you still have it, it will, because it's going to kind of, when you go into the overall grade, you're going to have to make those adjustments, because it's, especially because everything adds up to 100%, so you will have to just look over the numbers, because now that is kind of taking a piece of that pie. If that makes sense. All right, so we're going to go into the overall grade interface. So who here doesn't have overall grade set up? Let's see. Attendance. One of the updates for the Ultra is tracking attendance. So it allows you to track student attendance, marking them as present, late, absent, and excused. You can choose to include it in the final grade calculations. So one thing with Ultra, it's very customizable in terms of how you teach your course. So if you have in-person and hybrid classes, and you want to prioritize participation and engagement, you would give attendance more weight. If you have an asynchronous online course, you more or less don't really have to mess with attendance that much, because instead of attendance, if you have an asynchronous course, instead of attendance, you can just have your notification settings, your performance settings. So if somebody is kind of lagging behind, you can get a notification and check that green box so they get one too. So that way you're on the same page. Attendance tracking and Ultra. So one good thing though about attendance tracking is you could still have it, but not count it towards the total grade. It could just be for reference. Now, what a lot of, for example, you could still take attendance. It's not going to be factored in. However, at the end of the semester, you can use it if a student is on like the cusp. So if they have an 89.4 total percentage final grade, and if the student came to class, was participating, then, you know, if you want, you can bump it up to an A minus, you know. Like that's one of your options. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to calculate it. You can still use it as your reference. And one of the other reasons for that is if there are international students with foreign visas that have to prove attendance to a course, or even students who receive financial aid. If they have to prove attendance, you know, for a course, if there's like some issue with their aid, even accreditation and federal funding. So that one, you know, so taking attendance, for example, let's say if you're a small institution and, you know, if you have the accreditation committee for a visit on your campus. You know, you can show them like, hey, look, you know, our attendance is very consistent. So, and, you know, even with funding. So, it is a useful tool to also, you know, to track like how many people are actually coming in to pursue the material that you're teaching. So, the attendance one, there is a very comprehensive guide on the Blackboard Ultra Help Center. And in the PDF version of this presentation, which you will get after the training, if you click on this, it'll take you directly to it. Okay, we're going to generate some grade reports. So how many of you have utilized this feature? Generating grade reports, also known as student activity reports, class activity reports, or progress reports. Like they're all rolled in. And also, as I said before, these pull directly from the overall grade. So having overall grade set up is critical to utilizing. So things with grade reports. Early monitoring. So these tools, they establish a baseline for student performance, you know, kind of helps them, help students make sure that they're off on the right foot. Because they can also access this through their interface. I believe it's called How Am I Doing? And it's on the baseline menu, which it is the menu that when you log into Blackboard, when your list of courses are the black menu column that is like on the where all your courses are listed. That's where the students are able to see. So If they go into grades and how am I doing, they're going to be able to view their progress as well. So you're generating, you can choose to generate reports on the regular. You can choose to generate them after the midterm. What a lot of instructors do is they generate these reports if as the withdrawal deadline for the semester is approaching. So that way they can tell their students, hey, you're kind of failing this class. If you so choose, you can withdraw and take it next semester. You can withdraw without receiving a failing grade. So, it allows the early monitoring. It's very helpful in helping you track progress and identifying potential issues that you want to tackle before it kind of compounds. Identifying struggling students. So it does provide great insights on student performance, especially those who might be at risk of failing, as I said. And it allows you to intervene based on based on the data you have and your chosen interventional methods on how you want to help them succeed. You can even do it to challenge high achievers. So if somebody is constantly acing their stuff, and there's no indication of any academic dishonesty. But if you have like high achievers, you can actually kind of do kind of the opposite, and then see where you can provide more challenging material. Or if most of your class is just like breezing through, the content, you can be like, okay, so maybe I need to make my material more challenging to kind of, challenge the students, and they can actually grow intellectually in the class. And enhancing your course in general, you can do this by assessing what type of content they succeed at, what type of content they tend to struggle with, and you can take this into account to see how you can utilize that data to, maybe you need to redesign your course. Or so if, let's say, if you see that your students are not exactly the most engaged in your 108 slide PowerPoint presentation, that's 2 hours of narration, maybe we need to break it up a bit and kind of incorporate, like small bursts of, of media, of interactive learning, of collaboration. And the oddly specific number is because it's a true story. It was years ago I was working on a narrated presentation. It was 108 slides. Yeah. And then she's like, well, they're not, they only listen to like the first 20 and then they don't know anything. And I'm like, yeah, because, nobody has that kind of attention span, especially not in this century, So you want to make sure that, it gives you an insight on ways to vary your course delivery and your methods. So, like I said, everybody with your TA, your grader, can access and generate the course activity report. We'll call it CAR here. Again, overall grade, you must enable your overall grade. Because that is where they pull the data from. These reports can be accessed via your Analytics tab, your base navigation, which is the interface that lists all your courses, and it has the black bar menu on the left side. And in gradebook settings, when we were looking at the student performance, the activity report is on the bottom of that. All right. So, for some reason the analytics tab is not showing up, but it's on the, like, it's on the presentation.
Grades, not students?
Huh?
Under grades, the activity report is, you're saying?
Yeah, so you can,
I was under students, so I didn't see it.
so if you go to Gradebook and analytic reports,
Under grades.
analytics.
Oh,
In the-
I got you.
No, to be a gradebook, you can do the gradebook settings, but in analytics, and yeah. So these are the embedded
Oh,
analytics.
okay.
Mhm. So on the right side, you see those little arrows where you can download that data in a CSV file. You can work offline. You can also do that with a gradebook. So, but I'm sure I didn't go too far into it because I'm sure like almost all of you know that you can download and work offline in the gradebook. So in the gradebook setting, if you go to the gradebook, you go to your gradebook settings. This is where you can access, and it's going to be the same interface. So if you go to the analytics tab, it's the second. I think the second to the second to the rightmost, and you have those 3 sub-tabs. And based on what the information you're looking for, you will go through those. You can go through here to do your analytics through the gradebook settings. And then on the bottom, where the student performance, where we talked about taunting the students every 24 hours if they didn't log in, you can do your view course activity. And via grades in the base navigation, where you click on grades, and then it gives you the screen, the breakdown per course, and recently posted grades. So there it is. It showed up. Analytics, and then course activity is usually where you get your, and this is both this and the progress tracking pulls from the similar data. So the information is synced to where if you go to your progress tracking, or if you go to the through this, it does pull from the same data, from the same source. All right, so customizing the gradebook. So based on how you want to teach your course. So first, aligning with the learning objectives. So you want to prioritize the assessments. You want to look at which of your coursework, which of your assessments are going to most adhere to your objectives. Clearly define these and determine, what would be the best way to assess them, to measure them. If collaboration is key, for example, if you're in if you're teaching a course where collaboration amongst your students is a priority, then you would, give that more weight, give those assignments more weight. Also, this is if you're a stickler about your objectives, I would highly recommend using the weight categories. That way you can kind of reflect that level of significance. So, structure for different course modalities. Given the highly customizable gradebook and grade settings, and to the point where it can become a little overwhelming and chaotic at times. So whether you teach, it is, those options are there for to customize based on how you teach your course. So you teach in person. If you teach in person, maybe participation, you would prioritize more of a participation. If you teach that same course online, but you still want to adhere to those objectives, instead of having the participation grade column, maybe you can have your have a discussion and give that same weight to the discussion, and kind of use that conditional grading where you break it down and be like, okay, well, 30% of their total grade, like per discussion, is them replying to at least 2 of their peers, kind of thing. So that will be a way to promote that same level of engagement as in person. If you're doing blended learning, you want to do separate categories for online and in-person activities. You want to ensure both contribute appropriately to the final grade, especially if, whether it's 1 week, 1 week online or 1 week hybrid, like 50-50 hybrid. You want to make sure that those are proportional, so that way you don't want it where the in-person participation carries more weight than the online participation. If you have project-based courses, you can structure your stuff accordingly. You can structure it based on like presentations. You can structure it based on if they have like a design, say you're doing like a senior design seminar. Very, very project-based. They all lead up to one big project. So you want to structure the grade around giving those more weight. If you flip the classroom, how many of you are familiar with the flipped classroom concept? Everybody? Okay. So assess, give appropriate amount of weight to pre-class stuff, rather than when they're just in the classroom. So, if let's say do a pre-class discussion question, and do the part 1, part 2, the post-class discussion question, but make sure to give the appropriate amount of weight for those. So, some advanced features that are as part of the, fairly recent update. Custom calculations. So within your calculated column, you can do custom calculations to generate grades based on specific criteria. So if you go into your overall grade, and if you on top where it says points versus weight, if you do the calculation settings, you can integrate different formulas, variables.
So you go to overall grade and edit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Edit overall grade.
Rubrics. You can also utilize rubrics. Attach them to assignments. This makes a very efficient and very objective way to grade, because the way the rubric, and you can also generate rubrics based on your course objectives and the content for which you are assessing. So, and in the last session I had about responsible use of AI and in the classroom, you can use the AI built-in Ultra to generate rubrics. So the attendance. Like I said, if you have a participation-heavy course that's very discussion-based, you want to do the attendance feature and give it a good amount of weight on the overall score. So before we go into the current issues, any questions on customizing the stuff? Any questions?
Just kind of a comment on attendance. If you set it up, it automatically creates a grade for it. So if you like go to use it,
Yeah.
it automatically creates a grade for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a trick. There's a gear there.
Yeah.
You can select that, and then there's a check. You can say don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you do attendance, it's going to restart using it as a grade. So you have
Yeah.
to go into the like in-depth overall grade calculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very annoying. My students go up to me, they're like, I thought you said attendance wasn't a grade, and I'm like, it's not, kind of, but I'm using it, and I have to change that.
And I have noticed that.
It's very tricky.
Yeah. I've noticed that too, and especially where it's just very uncooperative when you're trying to factor it into the overall grade.
Yeah.
So it is. I know it is currently in like queued to be resolved in the November batch update. Last I heard from Blackboard. So some current issues. The grade override in Gradebook. So if you, these are some of the, and we'll go through, each of them specifically.
So that's why I've got that one that still needs
Mm-hmm.
grading.
Yep, it keeps saying needs grading. Yeah. Yeah, so if you go, so it's this one. So it's like if you override manually a grade in the gradebook, like directly. So, this is like the grades. The students' grades are here. This is all the columns displayed. If you click and override it manually, if you don't go through the student submission, it will revert as needs grading. So if you do need to override a grade, go through the submission. So the workaround, open the submission and assign the grade from there instead of using the override option.
So you're overriding, but inside the submission screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just have to go through that because going through directly through that it's annoying. Another one. If you are generating an originality report via Safe Assign, or Blackboard uses Safe Assign, but when opened via grid view of Gradebook, it will not show it. So if I've received a serious amount of grievances on, I need to generate this originality report and I'm in the gradebook, but when it's showing the grade, it's not showing the report. And mostly, it's mostly common for the assignment category. And it's just not going to load if you go to the gradebook. So the fastest workaround currently is changing the gradebook to list view instead of, so if you change it from grid view to list view and then open the attempt, then the originality report will work in grid view. So, but first you have to open it in list view. And it's this is one of the most annoying glitches currently. So if you need to view the originality report, make sure you go through list view first, because you only have to do it once. Then, once you do the list view first, then it'll load in the grid view. But once you log out, you'll have to do it again. All right, another thing I've seen. It tells the submission is late when it isn't. So it will say submitted late. Remember earlier in the session when we saw assignments that have been submitted past the due date, they are in red. So Ultra has a glitch where it will still display that after changing the, and this is usually prompted by if you're changing the due date, like as submissions have started. So if you're changing the due date or if you're creating exemptions, that's usually what's prompted by it. Now, it doesn't, the grade is not affected. So if you have it to where they'll only get 50% if it's submitted late, it's not, it does not affect the grade. It's just initially alarming. It's just in red. It just has that message. So it does not affect the grading thing in any way. It just kind of annoys the students and confuses them. So in this case, so Blackboard designation, the will not fix, and in the world of IT, this isn't like, no, I'm not going to do it. This is more of where you acknowledge the issue, you acknowledge what the issue is, but you also know that the bug itself does not have any real detrimental impact, you know, outside of the initial confusion and alarm. So it's just a notification glitch, basically. It's not. It does not impact the student's grading or anything. It's just like a display error. However, it is bookmarked for future update releases, not in the upcoming November one. But like I said, it's not a priority, and now I know they're prioritizing the gradebook view glitches when accessed from, you know, especially when accessed via the grid view. For some reason, the grid view does not want to work well with any of the input that's coming into the gradebook. The closest thing to a workaround, usually you have a timestamp of when the student has submitted something. The timestamp does not lie, so hence the glitch of it making it so it'll have the correct timestamp. Like let's say something's due at midnight, student submitted it at 8 p.m. It's on time, but the glitch will mark it as make it look like it's late when it isn't. So if you just verify the timestamp instead of the color coding, that's usually, so you just gotta look closer and see when they actually, and it's usually like if it's a discussion, it's right there on their post. So all right. Also another thing, not updating. So if you usually it's if you manually add grades. these it kind of has a delay, and I did see it in some courses more than others. So it's it is being speculated that in courses where they set up those while it was in their conversion, like the Learn to Ultra conversion kit, if they were set up there, it might have some malfunctions where you got when you're inserting new grades, they're not shown. The overall grade does not display them properly. We had an issue at the end of it was like a month after I got here, where a student was having their overall grade was different than the overall grade for the instructor, and we just went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and it was just a display error. So at the end, she decided to just give him the higher grade. So. So the workaround for this, get rid of do away with erase the grade that you're trying to input, exit out, log back in, log out, log back in, and re-enter it, and then the post button will appear. But yeah, I felt like it was important to include these because a part of a good amount of the help tickets we're getting and stuff are mainly it's almost never really user error. It's mostly the known issues that unless you're us or IT, like you wouldn't really have that information on a daily basis because we get notifications regularly. Yes.
So remove up there means you put a blank in it or a 0?
So no, if it's not displaying it, go back to where you entered the grade and erase it.
A blank.
Yes, leave it blank,
okay.
And then exit out, and then log back in.
Okay.
And the last one. iPad through Safari or Chrome, it's not scrolling. This is not the first time it has happened. If you have a MacBook, I remember in Learn in 2016, I was with Purdue and we were using Learn, and the grade center, that was called then, was not side-scrolling, and it was, at first they're like, why is this, what is going on, and then I realized that everybody that has come to us with that issue has had a MacBook. So we did some troubleshooting, but it looks like there seems to be something where the Gradebook is not cooperating with iOS. It seems to be a thing with Blackboard because 8 years later, this has also been an issue. Usually it's 5 columns maximum. However, right now on the iPad, it can be fixed. The newest software update can most of the time it'll fix it. So if you just go to software update and you just update the thing, restart the device, and then that fixes it. So I know for some reason if iOS is not updated, it will be kind of wonky when you're trying to side scroll. So fair warning on that. All right, so hopefully we tamed the Gradebook beast. So all right, any questions? Any questions? Specific instances where anything that you felt like we needed to address in greater extent? Now is the time for it.
I went to the analytics report, and it expresses it as a percentage without even doing a fraction. Whichever report says that. Of course. plus the third graders percentage. That's the one.
For the overall grade?
Yeah, they're coming to me. Oh my God, I got 40%.
Gradebook. So, how many items, how do you, like for the presentation, so let's see if we do this.
These are all the things I'm counting. And the scale goes from 0 to 400.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the color. We're talking about grade cost.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not about it's just a display, because you're basically looking at, the output display, so.
It goes to, instead of being 40 to 42,
Mhm. Well, the thing is though, the gradebook does not do fractions.
It shows fractions.
Yeah, but not the overall grade. Overall grade is, yeah. Mhm. There it is. Yeah. No, it doesn't, like, when you're, if you're displaying like the grade for like the points, or like for the assignment, it will just say like for, possible points, and then it'll say that, but it's not gonna.
But
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
for the semester, it's about, that's supposed to be.
Mhm.
So it's showing them.
So is that, so this is the
Absolutely
point.
not, because they need that as no need.
But-
You
So,
need that to not be on the screen. Their score is not.
Mhm.
Even, their score is not 80 and their score is 80.
So the, okay, but so the 89, is that the total points that you have graded so far?
Either that or
It is.
they could have gotten, but either way, it's mistaken. They don't get it.
Well, actually, no, so it's, because if you have, you said what, you have 400 and something total points in the points? Okay, so the 89, when I see this, the 89 is based on, so that their grade is, based on the stuff that they have already submitted. So that based on all their submissions that have been graded thus far,